Welcome to the Ultimate 180, the podcast for hardworking people like you who are ready to break free from exhaustion and create a life that actually feels good. If you're tired of spinning your wheels and want a simpler, gentler way to change your life without all the stress, fear, and guilt, without adding more to your already overwhelming schedule, and without giving up everything you've already built, then you're in the right place. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, something invisible keeps holding you back? Like there's this wall that you just can't quite see, but you can feel it. Here's the truth. Most people never realize it's not the world that's keeping you stuck. It's the story you've been telling yourself about the world and your role in it. I'm your host, Christina Walker, and in today's episode, we are diving deep into the hidden beliefs and subconscious narratives that shape your reality without you even realizing it. Because once you uncover those quiet, deep-rooted stories running the show, you can choose something different. You can rewrite the entire script. And when you change your story, you change your truth. And when you change your truth, your entire life begins to shift. This isn't just mindset work, it's a life transformation. So let's break the cycle and rewrite your narrative so you can create a life that actually lights you up. Wouldn't that be great? So before we dive in, I just have a quick favor to ask. If this episode sparks hope or inspiration or even a little nudge to think differently, something inside you, take a split second to hit that follow button. Why? Because every time you do, you're not just making sure that you never miss an episode, you're also helping someone else who needs to hear this message too. And if something really hits home for you today, don't keep it to yourself. Screenshot this episode, share it on social, and tag me with your biggest takeaway. I absolutely love seeing your insights. And who knows, you might even become my next featured Ultimate 180 story. Oh, and if you're ready to go even deeper and just grab my Stop Working So Hard workbook down below, it's my free gift to help you take what you're learning here and start making real moves in your life. And be sure to join my VIP community too, where we take all these conversations to the next level. You do not have to do this alone. I've got you. So all the links for that are in the show description. So let's get started as we navigate change together, 1 degree at a time. Let's do this. I am so excited to share this next exercise with you because honestly, it is one of my favorites. It has the potential to truly be life-changing. I come back to it often, and here's why. Because our brains are wired to compartmentalize things in order to make sense of the world. And as we grow and evolve, our minds are constantly searching for evidence to support the stories that we've created. Stories about how our life works, what we deserve, what's possible for us, and who we are. So whether it's about success, beauty, intelligence, love, your brain is always scanning the world for proof that your inner narrative is true. But there's a catch. Because if we want to truly change our story and radically transform our lives, if we want to make that ultimate 180, we have to go deeper. We have to uncover those hidden limiting beliefs, the ones that we do not even realize we're carrying, because those beliefs are silently shaping everything. And once we bring them to light, that's when the real transformation begins. So years ago, this is so funny because this story it's not even my head, but the story in other people's head was something, this annoyed me so much. And I want to tell you just a quick story because you'll understand how we get things in our head. So my husband and I, throughout the years, we've had multiple houses, and each time it's been a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer neighborhood, you move up, right? And we were ready, we wanted another move up. And I wanted more space for certain things. I wanted different things. Our life has evolved and it's okay to want more. And every time we would bring something up about it to our parents, some of them would say, well, why do you need a bigger house? And I'm having to tell you, like, that annoyed the hell out of me. And I'm like, because I would start justifying it, right? Like, well, because, I need a little space for my podcast studio, or, I need this or I need that. And I'm like, what? I don't need to justify this to you. I mean, what? And because I realized it wasn't about me at all. In their head, they looked at us thinking, why would you possibly need anything bigger? Like, you have enough. Well, it's not about having enough. It's about having what I want. This is what I want in this world. It's not about what you want in this world. And that is one of the times it hit me, because there are things that go on in their head that I shouldn't want. Why would anybody, you shouldn't have to want more. And I'm like, that is it. That is what's stopping these people. And so was having a discussion actually about this with my mom one day. And she made, and I know she's listening, so I'm excited because I've got a success story about her today. Um, she said to me, oh, I really love my little house. Sounds like a nice thing to say, right? I said, well, that's good. Gratitude is fantastic. I should be grateful of what I have right now, as well as wanting more, right? You get to do that. You get to have both. You get to have the happiness and gratitude for all the things you're experiencing right this minute in the present. That's where you have fun in life, is right here. And then you get to dream bigger if you want to. And I said, that right there is what's stopping you from having a bigger house, from having more. She was like, what? I'm like, you just said, I love having my little house. And she said, wow, I didn't even, like, it wasn't really clicking quite yet, right? But she was like, yeah, I did say that. You're right. And then because in her, the way she said it, it was like, well, my house is just fine, right? We're all fine with it. And she wants to be grateful. And that was the reality, is she was also trying to make sure she was grateful for everything she had. And that is fabulous. Start there. Be grateful for everything you have. And not but, and you also get to want more. But these beliefs, these little beliefs in her head said, well, she doesn't need a bigger house, or she doesn't need anything else because, it's kind of what she deserves, right? She got more than she ever thought she'd have, or not really, actually, when we got down to it. It wasn't necessarily everything that she always thought she'd have, but she just stuck in that, like, well, I should be just grateful for what I have and stay right here in my nice little house. She also made something else. She said, because we were talking about time and money. And I said, you make a lot more per hour than it would cost you to have a housekeeper. So why not just work a couple extra hours and have somebody come help you with your housekeeping? And she said, well, because I've always taken pride in cleaning my own home. I said, wow, that's interesting. Why? I said, I don't know. And I said, but think about that for a minute. Like, you take pride in cleaning your own home, and all your friends have somebody to help them clean their home because they're busy. I said, and you're also giving somebody who enjoys cleaning homes an opportunity, right, to have work. And so it's a win-win, right? If you actually don't enjoy cleaning your house and you make more money per hour. So, right, you could replace that. You could actually make more money per hour than you paying somebody to do something, right? That's when you delegate. That's a great time to know that you can delegate. If it's a skill that somebody else has, and then it frees you up to do work that pays you more money, I mean, that's amazing. And then she said, yeah, I'm not really sure why I guess maybe I more just take pride in having a clean home. I said, that's interesting. So there's a shift, right? It's just a tiny little shift. So maybe you start to hear things like that you say about different things, and you're like, well, wait a minute, do I really believe that, or do I want that as my truth? Because that was her truth, was that she felt like in order to be grateful for something, you might not be asking for the next level. And that's not true at all, right? And also, because these are two great examples, also, her truth was that she took pride in cleaning her house. And then when she shifted it and said, you know what, I guess I have pride in having a clean house, it freed her up to be able to think differently. So do you see how, I mean, even in a very small scale, but can you imagine all this story that we have built about our life, how it's gripping us into in kind of our unconscious narratives, and we carry that in every decision and every action. And some of these things have been formed from childhood, our past experiences. I mean, it could be even, again, it could be generational. It could be my grandfather did it, my dad did it, now I do it. You know, that, I mean, that's just one of those things like, wait a minute, hold on. My whole story maybe isn't really what, I mean, the story that I want. It's because it's that gap. That's what's keeping you from that story. There's this huge underlying narrative that you're telling yourself, and you're making every decision from it. And those are your truths. So, in order to change your truth, we have to understand first that you have these hidden stories. And there's a lot of hidden stories, and it's in the words we say. Like, I'm terrible at remembering names. I can't tell you how many years I stuck with that story. And it came from a time in my life I probably just wasn't paying attention. I was too busy going, whatever. And then I realized I didn't know somebody's name and I just wasn't paying attention. Well, I did that for a while and I heard somebody else say, oh, I'm terrible at remembering names, because that was their out when they talk to people. Like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm terrible at remembering names. And I thought, oh, I can adopt that because I'm terrible at that too. Was I really terrible at it? No, probably not. I was looking for an out too because I wasn't paying attention, was the reality. I was not present in the moment when they were telling me their name. I was already somewhere else looking at their dress, how beautiful they were, whatever. But I was not being present when they told me their name. So I adopted somebody else's truth, right? So these things that we say, maybe it's, I always have to struggle when, or my life is a struggle, or success means sacrifice. I know that one's big. I have to work hard for money. You've got to go get my guide. If that is ruling your life, that is a truth. And when it is a habit that has become a truth, there's one thing is to develop habits, but when it is your truth that you make decisions, as we talked the last time about these little habits that we have of saying things in our head, but this is the next level. This is now has become truths. All these little habitual things that we say to ourselves has become this massive truth. So, and why do we feel like success means sacrifice? Why do we feel like money in order to get more money, you have to work hard? There's a lot of little things that lead up to that. And so I want to share with you why your truth isn't always true. Because truths are often repeated thoughts and beliefs. Let me say it again. Truths are often repeated thoughts or beliefs. These are not universal facts. We talked about that last time. They're not facts. Just because you've repeated something does not mean it's a fact. It's just familiar, right? Remember that? So, in order to change our entire story to be our new story, because we want to develop a future story, right, of who we are. And so we need to perceive ourselves as that future self. So we need to start right there. Who do we want to be? If you were the best version of you that felt incredible, that had fun in life, who is that person? Who would you be? How would that feel if you were that person right now? And when you get into that state of being, I mean, write it down. Write down these things. Like, who are you? Like, are you the person that is donating money to a cause? Are you starting a nonprofit because you just have that much money? Or maybe you are starting the company of your dreams. Or maybe it's something as simple as you are funding all of your grandkids' college degrees. What is it? What is this new story that you want to be? You have to start there. And then when you start there, you could start to say, well, here's the truth. Here's the truth of my future story. And you can start really digging in and being a detective of your own story, of what of your is your story. Because changing that story that we perceive about ourselves is going to change your entire life. And I know I was going to give props to my mom because I told you her story about cleaning the house. And I have to tell you, I'm so proud of her every time she tells me that the cleaners are coming to her house. And sometimes she's not replacing it with actual, work, but sometimes she's just replacing it with fun, doing something fun, right? It alleviates that time of her day so that she can do something that makes her happy. And at this stage in her life, that's amazing. It's not even about the money anymore. It's just freed up herself, that work that she didn't enjoy. And now she gets to enjoy that time, those 3, 4 hours. She gets to enjoy that time instead of doing something that she didn't enjoy. And I love it. Every time she says it, I'm just like, yes, because that limiting belief is not there anymore. And that sometimes is really difficult for some people more than others. Some of us, we see it, we change it. We see it, we change it. And even people like me who enjoy change, sometimes when I am stuck in something, it takes me a while to keep reminding myself, or I dive back into that old belief, that old truth about myself, especially when I'm not in a great place or life seems chaotic. Then that's those times when we suddenly are like, wait a minute, what happened? I was on this trajectory. And that's when it's great to write it down. Who do you want to be? And what are the truths that that person believes? That's what we have to identify. What are the truths? If I was that person right now, what truths would I want to adopt? What would it mean for me to be that person now? So here's some questions, because you have to identify what your default story is in order to rewire your story, right? So now you've got your new story, who you want to be, right? This is the person I want to be. Now, how do we get there? Okay, so what do I believe right now? Let's take career for a minute. What do I believe has to be done to make more money? Do I believe it needs to be hard? Yeah, I believe that that means I'm going to have to work more. I'm going to see my family less. I'm going to have to travel more, right? Those are limiting truths that you have built up since you were little. Now, this other version of me, that person, what do they believe? They believe that somehow, now you don't have to fix it. That's where people get stuck. They think, well, then I have to figure out how. No, you do not have to figure out how right now. We just have to identify what is the belief that we would like to adopt. And the belief that we'd like to adopt are there are so many avenues for money to come in to free up my time in my life. And I've figured that out, and my life is amazing. And money comes to me before I ever need it, right? Aren't those the things that you'd like to adopt? Money comes easily. In fact, I work less hours and I make more money and I do things that I love. Why not adopt that? Because some people will say, well, how? That is not what we're doing right now. You have to start with the truth itself, that limiting belief. You have to start with the truth before you can get to the how. Because I talked about it before, your brain radar will kick in to a whole different position. Remember the position? I'm over here, I'm over there, right? We talked about that last time. You are now in a different position to believe and see new opportunities and things. If you are that person believing your truth, that you are believing that that is a possibility of life. And when you're there and that has become your truth, though, that how will come. So don't focus on the how, focus on what it is you want to feel. Focus on the new belief. And when you're going through it, question, well, why do I believe this? Does this serve me? Right? Does this serve my greater good to even believe that anymore? Do I want to believe that anymore? Why would I want to believe that anymore? It's not serving me. It's making my life feel hard. So you don't have to do that anymore. And these little tiny small shifts to create the truth that you live in, that is what's going to lead you to massive transformation in your life. What I really hope that you take away today is that you are the author of your story. And your next chapter starts right now. Change your story, change your truth, change your life. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this episode spoke to you in any way, just remember to hit that follow button, tag me on social, and make sure you give me that biggest takeaway. If you'd like any more information on how to incorporate these tips into your Ultimate 180, just grab my free workbook, join my VIP group, ultimate180.com, and let's discover what's ultimately possible for you. You can catch all my episodes there on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you catch your shows.